welcome to another episode of The Mind and Muse Crochet and Fiber Crafts. I am your host Caroline, and as usual I am recording from my home on the western side of the island of Puerto Rico, where I live with my husband. And today is Saturday. It is probably close to 11 o'clock in the morning. It is a special Saturday on this part of the world because it is the 4th of July, which is the celebration of the independence of the United States of America, of which we are a territory. So therefore, we are part of those celebrations. And you will find that on the island it is very frequent for today there to be barbecues and visitations, people visiting beaches and whatnot. So yes, 4th of July. And so I would like to welcome you if you are a returning viewer, and if you are a new viewer, well, I would like to say welcome. And thank you to all of you for pressing that like button and choosing to spend a little bit of time with me today. This is a crafty channel, and so let me welcome you to the crafty part of my life, and this is where I share with you those crafty things that I have been working on and learning over the previous weeks. It is mostly about crochet and fiber a lot of the times, but recently it has just been more about the crochet. So I don't have tons of things to share with you today, but I do have a couple of updates on some of the projects that I have been working on, and I have some new things that you haven't seen before. So, Walking the Talk is my first section where I talk to you about how I wear something that I have made. And so I am wearing for you today a necklace and bracelet set that I made myself several years back. The necklace is glass. They are Swarovski, I guess they're called teardrops, and glass joined together by wire. The little wired segments that are joined together by jump rings. And the bracelet is actually a favorite of mine because it is made from natural rubies, as natural as you can get them when you purchase them from online stores. But they are natural rubies with pearls, freshwater pearls, and even some Swarovski bicons. And even the fastener has a natural ruby on it. And this is special to me because it was a gift. The natural rubies were a gift quite a while back from my husband for my birthday, because if you don't remember or are new here and have never known, July is my birthday month, and so in a couple of days I will be celebrating my birthday, and this was a gift several years back. And I am not a big fan of, I love bracelets, but I don't love to wear them because I find that my hands no longer look attractive for wearing bracelets. But I love this one, and anytime I get a chance, because it can be dressed up or dressed down, I just love the two-stranded pearls, which are my favorites, and rubies, which is my birthstone. And I really do like the fastener there. So favorites of mine. And I am also wearing for you today a finished object that you haven't even seen before. I don't even think I had started it on the last podcast. I had the idea, I guess, because I wanted to recreate a top that comes out in one of my favorite movies, which is Practical Magic. And in that movie, there is a scene pretty much towards the beginning, not yet at the middle of the movie, where Sandra Bullock, who plays Sarah, one of the main characters of the movie, wears a crochet top. And this was back, I think, from 1999. It was a movie that came out in 1999. And if you have been around for a while, you know that I have mentioned that it is a movie that I watch every Halloween. So it's a favorite of mine. But for a very long time, Clarissa, my daughter, and I had seen this top, and we had thought about recreating it. But recently, as the summer began, along with summer comes the Summer of Romance Cal, which is hosted by Claudia of the Crochet Luna podcast and Clarissa of the Crochet Cakes podcast. And Clarissa in the Crochet Cakes podcast has the comment thread, the thread for the comments and the chatter, and Claudia is hosting the finished object. I have not placed this yet in that finished object group, but it will be there soon. I did, however, share my idea. I wanted to recreate that top that Sandra Bullock wears in the movie. Now, in the movie, she is a very young mother and very slender, and so the top that she wears is a lot more fitted than the one that I made. But I decided that I was going to try and recreate it, because now, as the years have gone by and I look at it, I could actually see that the stitches were not that difficult at all, and the pattern of the stitches would not be difficult at all to recreate. And it is a free pattern. I don't know. There's like a double view where I saw in the pattern that I was trying to recreate similarities. This is a photo that occurs most frequently. She comes in from working in the garden and she's got that blouse on. Okay, just a summer top, but I could see that it had a shell pattern border at the top, as well as I could see that was very similar to, I don't know, maybe a pineapple stitch at the bottom. So I used this other pattern, this other lace summer tops pattern. Now, if you look on Ravelry, it says it's from TLH Patterns. It is there too, but it will take you to the Lazy Hobby Hopper Blogspot for the actual written instructions. So this is what it looks like on Ravelry. These are the several photos that they have available there. I don't know if I am using here the old version or the new version, because I chose to return to the classical version only because I just was more accustomed to finding things around there. So there, I thought that, well, I could add a shell border to this, and I would remove the tie at the front. I would keep the patterning in the middle as the patterning that her blouse has in the movie. I really can't see very well from the screen because I do have the movie, or from the pictures on internet, so I just kept this body the same. And then at the bottom, instead of this border, I added a pineapple stitch border. And this is what I have. But I will stand up because it's a short blouse, it's a crop top, so that you can basically see what I did to it. So essentially what I did was there we go. So essentially what I did was I made two backs, because the front had that slit there. I made two backs, and as I said, I kept the body, stitched the body stitch pattern the same, and then I added the pattern to the, well, I added the pineapple, and I don't know if you could tell from the pictures I showed you, but it seems that at the very end of the border, there's a little like picot stitches in every pineapple, and so that's why I added picot stitches at the end of every one of those pineapple stitches. Now the pineapple stitch pattern I borrowed from another pattern by Crochet Cakes Las Nubes, where she has you begin with the pineapple border and then she works up to her inverse raglan. And so I only borrowed the border, but once I got to the bottom, I simply followed her instructions for the border, obviously in the opposite direction because she starts bottom up and I was going top down. So there wasn't a difference except for the direction in which your pineapples point. And so I found that was okay. I was willing to accept that. It wasn't going to look exactly like the blouse that Sandra Bullock was wearing, but it is my version, and I think, yes, I can call this practical magic because that's where it comes from. I think the free pattern is well written. I did have issues, as always. I did a swatch, which is something I hardly ever do. And here it is. I'm looking for the bag where I had this. It was from the movie Practical Magic, or so what better to use than this Maleficent bag that was made to me by my daughter Clarissa Beth a while back, several years back for Halloween. We exchanged. So I did swatch. The suggestion was a 4mm hook, and I swatched, and I was getting a 5x5 square, and you had to get a 4x4. So I did swatch again, and it looks all, crinkled, and because it's been in the project bag for a while. But when I made this was the most perfect square that I have ever made in my life. So I was very, very happy with the swatch. But I used a 3mm hook. I ended up having to use a 3mm hook, which was fine for the yarn I was using. It really wasn't that difficult. I was using Drops Belle Unicolor, and I mean, it doesn't have a color name, but color number 1, white. This is essentially, I believe, considered a DK weight, and the pattern is written for 4-ply. This is 53% cotton, 33% viscose, and 14% linen. And in 50 grams, there are 131 yards, so in 100 grams, there would be about 262 yards. So I think, yeah, that's pretty much DK. So, or what is called double knit. Anyway, it wasn't the yarn called for in the pattern, but it did work well. Though it was a bit larger, so I guess I had to, the gauge of the yarn was larger, so I guess that's why I had to go down the hook size, but that was fine. It didn't bother me to work with a 3mm hook, and the yarn was easy enough to work with. I probably used up about 150, I think a bit more than 150, because I had a couple of, this is what I had left over from my last ball that I opened, but I had a couple of leftovers like this, left over from another project that I used up. So I do have 3 ball bands, but I think I used actually more than that. At some point, I believe these were 10 balls. There are 2 left in the bag, and 3 here makes 5. Maybe they weren't 10, because that would seem like too many. But I'm pretty sure I might have used 200 grams with all the scraps and everything else. I can always weigh this later on. But anyway, I was very impressed that I got this perfect square, and I was so impressed that I said, oh, I think I'm going to make swatches from now on and turn all my swatches into a blanket because they're so pretty. But anyway, getting back to the actual project, the pattern by TLH Nets, I didn't have any problem with it. And there are a couple of projects on Ravelry that you can look into if you want to see how other people have felt about it. But I found, for example, you notice here that the top part of it actually ends here, which I found for me was too high because it was sitting, well, wait, about where it's sitting. It was sitting right here. And I didn't like that, so I made my top longer. I extended it. Now, it was something that I had to extend after the fact because the top part of this is worked from the bottom up. So once I noticed it was too short for my liking, then I added several rows, several pattern repeats to it. I just picked it up at the bottom. I used a single central crochet to connect my yarn and to continue the pattern, which are simply 2 double crochets and skip 2, 2 double crochets and skip 2. So I continue to do that, making my double crochets using a single central crochet join to the bottom part of it, and well, it worked okay. I'm fine with it. I'm very glad and happy that I extended it. But if I knew, or if you were trying to make it, I think I would add several rows to this top part before you actually started your arm shaping. This is made up in a medium because I thought the small would be too small, because she rates her small for a size 32 bust and I'm a 34, so I went up to the medium. But I think I could have gotten away with making a small because of the fact that this rides off my shoulders here. Of course, that is also because I added the shell border, but because of the fact that that rides off and this is so open here, I think I could have gone with making it a smaller size. But I didn't, because of the fact that I went down to a 3mm hook, but I had gauge. I found it strange that I should be finding the blouse big, but there were about 3 comments on Ravelry that actually said that it did run a little bit big, although somebody mentioned that when they got to the middle they added a couple of stitches so that it wouldn't be so tight, it wouldn't be, but I don't know, because it's not tight at all. It's very loose fit. There was a little bit of what do you say that? Like when you play by ear, right? There was a little bit of fiddling when I attached when I didn't attach it, but when I continued from the body to the bottom pineapple border, because I didn't have the right amount of stitches. So I had to fiddle that a little bit to try and pick up my stitches so that they were equally distanced. I did a single crochet around first so I could start the actual pineapple border, and I picked up those single crochets. I tried to go for, I think it was the 160, the second size on her pattern. I think I could have gone for the 3rd size because I think I could have made that 174 stitches or something like that. But I went for the smaller size, and because I did that, I don't think the join was actually perfect here. See the way this, it doesn't look like that way on this side, but on this side it kind of looks like I have less stitches than I needed. I needed more stitches to continue with the same width. So I kind of am thinking, although I have hidden the ends. They have not been, the bottom ends has not been sewn in, has not been woven in, so that I can pull it out easily if I decide to rip all that back and redo it with a larger number of stitches, because something like that might bother me. This hasn't been washed or blocked. It could be that when I block it out, it will just go away, but I don't know, because I haven't done that yet. So I am considering it. I am considering ripping back the pineapple border. It is easy enough to make. You need but a couple of hours there, but I don't know. I'll think about that. But so this is what I'm wearing for you today, and I think that on my birthday I will be wearing it exactly like this, because once I finish with the podcast, I'll probably take it off so that it doesn't get dirty or sweaty. It is very hot here today, except for the fact that I am in a temperature controlled environment as usual, so it doesn't matter what I have on. But when I finish the podcast, I will remove it and place it on a hanger, and in a couple of more days I will wear it for my birthday. And so I need to decide whether I want to, I can either go as a trial run that day and then decide whether I will pull it back after, or I can just go for it, which is, as you get older, time is a little bit more precious, so why sit around and think about if I'm going to tear it apart? Let's just go and do it. Sure. Well, so that is not up on my Ravelry page yet, because I finished it this week and it has only taken me a couple of days to make, so I haven't gone and done that. But this is my Practical Magic top, and it is for the Summer of Romance, because it is the top that Sandra Bullock wears in the movie Practical Magic, and her beau is the inspector of the movie who is investigating a crime that supposedly Sandra Bullock has committed. So, in case you haven't seen the movie, I will say nothing else, but this is to represent the theme of the Summer Romance Cal this summer is timeless romances. And so for me, this is a timeless romance because of the reason behind why he shows up in her life, which if you watch the movie you will find out, and because every year on Halloween I watch the movie and I can now wear my top while I watch the movie and just feel happy. Just do silly things that make me feel happy. So let's continue then with the next section, which is, I guess we can do pressing on, which will be, well, since I've talked about what I finished, I have one more final object, so I will talk about what project has reached the end of the line. It's a project that you haven't seen here. I think I mentioned a while back that Clarissa of the Crochet Cakes podcast will be celebrating a cal for National Hispanic Heritage Month. Well, not month, but National Hispanic Heritage, which is actually, I think it goes on for 2 months. It's from the middle of August to the middle of October. So it's got actually 2 months going on there. And I have 2 projects that I am going to write out the patterns to collaborate with her. The first one that I'm going to show you is already finished because it is, I am continuing with my roll here with my toilet roll covers, and I was looking through one of my crochet encyclopedias, saw this stitch and decided that I think it is called in this book, I think it's this book, 200 or more crochet stitches, and it is called the embossed shell stitch. So they do it with 2 colors there, but I wanted to recreate a pineapple, if you haven't realized that. Well, not necessarily you would have to, but I wanted to recreate a pineapple because it does look like a king's head and a crown, but it is meant to be a pineapple. So this starts out with simply a bottom, that I go around in circle, but I do join because I prefer that to a spiral. And then single crochet in the back loop to bring up this border, and then I began the instructions for the embossed shell. The embossed shell instructions in the book are for making it flat. I had to adjust them a little bit to make it in the round. And then when I reached the top, then I simply created this sort of like crown, because I was thinking about how could I put the crown on this without and have my leaves stand up straight. And so I wanted it also to be easy enough for somebody to want to replicate. I didn't want to have to go and get florist's wire and things like that. So I just made it whatever I had at home. I'm on a mission here to bring down my stash. And so these are Stylecraft Chunkies. This is the color gold, and this is the color lime, I believe, though I could not find the ball band for this. I do believe it is lime. And so what I have done is that I began my crown in the opposite direction of the way that I had been crocheting, with half double crochets. That way I could turn around again when I finished my half double crochets and use the 2 front loops to create these, what are they called, spines or whatever they're called, these leaves of the pineapple. And then I went back around on the inside and I used the other loop to join these so that they would cover up my toilet roll, because I was uneasy about having my toilet roll collect dust or stuff like that. So I did that. I did the exact same pattern for the leaf, outside leaf for an inside leaf. These lay down and cover up my toilet roll cover, and these stand up and kind of make it look like a king's head instead of a pineapple. But they do say that the pineapple is the king of fruit, so here it is. And this will be a free pattern if you're interested. And you can use other colors. Like I say, I just used what I had at home. I probably would have liked this gold to be more of a yellow. But actually, when the pineapple matures, it is more of a goldish color than a yellow. And it does always have some green or brown in between. So you might want to do this a nice shade of a lightish brown. And the top leaves are like a greenish brown. So I did think about doing the chunky together with maybe a fingering weight brown to kind of like stick in that brown. But in the end, I ended up not doing it because, this can be redone in so many ways that I would just prefer to give you the pattern, give you the ideas, and see what you guys come up with for. So it'll be a free pattern for the National Hispanic Heritage celebrations, which are from August 15th to October 15th. And Crochet Cakes will be podcasting. Well, she'll be podcasting, I hope, but she will be hosting a CAL. And, well, if you want to join in, this could be one of the patterns that you use. So I hope to get it up on my blog during the summer, because I'll have less time to do so during August. That's when school starts again. And I hope you enjoy it. I actually got the idea because the last one that I made, one of the viewers, told me that she thought it looked like a strawberry. And when I re-looked at it, I was like, it kind of actually does look like a strawberry. If the little, they weren't actually, they were faux baubles, but if I could do them in black, yeah, they might work as a strawberry also. So from that idea, I said, well, maybe I can make a pineapple. And this was my final project. So if you like to put little crochet objects all around your house, here's an idea for you. And we can celebrate together. That is finished, and the pattern is written up in my handwriting. I just simply need to be able to read it and write it up, type it up on the computer. I don't know if you've ever seen the way pattern writing works. But anyway, that's what the pattern looks like. I probably have got about 3 or 4 pages of diagrams and jitters and scratches and I don't know. It is done. But it'll take a while for me to translate that into human language and put it on the computer. The second project that goes along with the same theme of National Hispanic Heritage was one that I did share with you the last time. If you remember, I was trying to write up a corner-to-corner pattern for the Taino Koki, which is our indigenous drawing of a small frog that lives on the island called the Koki. And so I have completed it. And since this is not what it should have been, it probably should have been done in a worsted weight. But initially I was thinking about making this into a pillow, which I think you can still do. You can still make this into a pillow cover. It would just be a big pillow cover that maybe, you only need one of them. You don't need two of them on your couch. But then I decided, as of late, well, maybe I would like to make it into a wall hanging. And so my idea next is to create a band at the top where I can insert a doll into it so I could hang it up. And then to put some weight on it, because it is DK, I am going to add at the bottom here some tassels. At the moment I'm thinking about maybe beaded tassels to kind of like connect this with my appreciation of beads and jewelry making. But I also want to put weight on it. Because it's only DK, if I make the tassels heavy enough, it'll have weight on it, and it will just stretch it out more. It'll keep it in its shape. But I can see this on a wall very easily. And it might look like an ant to some of you. Because remember I showed you on the last podcast what you have to actually look at so that you know what I was trying to recreate. So you can do a Google search for the Taino Koki, and you'll see something similar to this. Remember that I recreated this using the stitch fiddle pattern, as I mentioned on the last podcast, and so it is quite simple to recreate with that program because it is not difficult to draw, and also because the program itself will create the line-by-line instructions of how to recreate your drawing in corner-to-corner crochet. So I am also happy with this. I am also happy that I was able to complete it. And I can see a couple of errors, but I'm not going to pull back. It's okay. It's poet's license or something like that. The artistic license that things don't need to look perfect because I am drawing them. And so that pattern will also be up on my blog for August, by August 15th, to begin the celebration of National Hispanic Heritage Month, along with Clarissa Bit of the Crochet Cakes podcast. And I don't know if there are other podcasters joining in collaboration, but for now I'm very sure that it's going to be her and I. And those are two patterns that you might want to make and bring some Spanish heritage into your home, in the sense that we can try and raise our children to respect other cultures and to interact with other cultures, and not to fear things that are different from us, but to live in harmony. And that's what I had to share with you this morning. There is one other thing that I wanted to mention, but it's on my crochet radar, and that was the mention of the latest version of Inside Crochet magazine, which I receive in a digital format. And I think I just loved it. I mean, I know that it is from experience that it is very difficult to get those magazines on this part of the world we have paid pretty expensive for those magazines, my daughter and I, when we have tried to find them. But if this is an issue that you can get your hands on, I can assure you that it's going to make you happy. Just look at the cover. Now, how beautiful is that? It is a crop top, but like I say, I have no fears of making crop tops a little bit longer, whether they are top down or whether they are bottom up. It can be done. And that is so pretty. So pretty. And alongside of that, it is chock full of beautiful floral arrangements. Oh, it's just a beautiful issue. But I also want to bring your attention to 2 pages of here we go. 2 pages of the magazine that are in the section Join the Community, because in this month they have a large collection of podcasters that they want to share, so that they can get more followers. And so they have got the Crochet Circle podcast with Faye, if you are not watching that, and the Quirky Monday Craft Cast, which is by Kalisha. She's in Florida. I have not watched the Stout Stitch, but I'm meaning to. This is by Zach Stout. And of course there is Crochet Luna. My, they really gave her a beautiful spot on that page, didn't they? And on the second page, look who's at the top. Not me, but it is Crochet Cakes, my daughter, with one of her designs. And we also have Hannah from the Cozy Cottage Crochet. There's the Canadian Crocheter that I don't watch her either, but it is good to know new podcasts. I'm always looking for something to put on. We've got KCACY podcast, Addie Day Designs, Rosina from the Zines and Roger podcast, and Stevie by the Sea, which is also another podcast that I don't watch. But it's a 2-page collection of podcasters that you can get to know if you're looking for a new podcast to watch, a crochet podcast to watch. And then I think they just put it all together very beautifully. And so if you have a chance to get your hands on this issue, it is an issue that I think has some beautiful designs in it. It's very colorful because it's the summer issue. And so all of their photo arrangements are made in color. This is my favorite. I think it's one of the things that most called my attention from the patterns that they had there, which was this. I think it looks very attractive to me. I look at it and I see Sandra from the Cherry Heart podcast, because it looks like something that she would be able to take on without thinking about it twice. Me, there are a lot of changes of colors there, so yes, I would think about it twice. But I would love to wear that. If somebody else made it for me, I would love to wear it. So much color. So beautiful. And so, if you have a chance, take a look at that. Here's another one that I really liked. I really like that color. I've always been a fan of that like pinkish apricot color. The color might not be coming up well on the repeated screen, but it's like more like an apricot. And look at all that crochet jewelry. Just beautiful. So, like I said, if you get a chance, take a look at that. You can buy it digitally, and you can also wait it out until it comes to your side of the world and try and purchase it. I know that for Elizabeth and I, it was always very difficult to find the issues when we wanted a specific issue, but they're all online in digital format if you can handle that type of thing. So guys, this is what I had for you today. I'm so glad that you could join me, and I am thankful for your friendship and for your company always. I hope you are taking care of yourselves and that things are going better on your side of the world with this COVID-19 virus. I think it's going to stick around for a while, so yes, I think we should continue with the precautions. We don't need to get sick. We don't need to get other people sick. And if we do get sick, we need people there who can take care of us. So don't overload the system by taking risks that you don't need to. Not yet, not yet. I still think we have some time to wait this thing out. It's like it's going to be around for a while. So do take care of yourself. If you are celebrating the 4th of July weekend this weekend, well, healthy and safe celebrations to you. I'm off to make a 4th of July dessert so that I can have a virtual barbecue with my children. So take care, and I will speak to you soon. In the meantime, keep yourself safe, keep yourself happy, and keep yourself healthy. Keep crafting. Bye for now.